Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the hidden stories within those dry corporate filings. Today we're looking at KKR Infrastructure Conglomerate LLC, a company that, well, let's just say they've been busy figuring out the value of things. Stick around because we might just find out what those things are worth. Don't forget, if you enjoy these deep dives into financial documents, make sure you subscribe. And we've got a fantastic community over on Discord, linked right in the description below, where we break down these reports even further. Alright, so this is a current report, essentially an update on something important happening right now. For KKR Infrastructure Conglomerate, the big news released on the 21st of November 2025 is all about the transactional net asset value. Now, what in the world is transactional net asset value? Simply put, it is the price at which this company sells and buys back its own shares. Think of it like the official sticker price and the buyback price for a car, but for parts of a company. The report gives us a breakdown of these values for different classes of shares as of the 31st of October 2025. So let's look at the numbers. Class U shares were valued at $29.71 per S-share. Then we have Class R shares at $29.76 and Class RD shares at $29.73. Class D shares are also at $29.73. Class I shares and Class S shares are both priced at $29.75. Moving up a notch, we've got Class E shares and Class F shares, both coming in at $31.17 per S-share. And finally, the Class G and Class H shares are the highest valued, at $34.03 each. It looks like there were no Class R shares outstanding as of the reporting period, which is just an observation, but not a major concern for us analysing the general performance. These numbers are essentially the reported value of the underlying assets that each share represents. It is how the company tells investors what their stake is worth at a specific point in time. Now, these values can fluctuate based on the performance of the company's investments, market conditions, and other economic factors. Companies like this typically invest in infrastructure projects, which can be long-term and quite stable, but also sensitive to interest rates and government policies. While we're not diving deep into the exhibits, it is worth noting that there is more detailed information available, including the full net asset value breakdown. This is crucial for anyone looking to make investment decisions, as it provides the raw data behind these value per share figures. So, what is the story here? KKR Infrastructure Conglomerate is essentially updating its investors on what its different share classes are currently worth. This isn't about profit or loss in the traditional sense for this specific report, but rather about the valuation of the company's assets. Think of it like checking the market value of your house versus its income potential. This report focuses on the market value. Looking at these different share classes and their values, it suggests a fairly diversified ownership structure, where different investors might have access to different types of shares with varying characteristics, or perhaps different fee structures. The slight differences in net asset value per S-share across the classes could be due to how those different classes are structured. Maybe involving different fee arrangements or investment strategies. From a broader perspective, the infrastructure sector itself is a huge area of investment. Companies in this space manage everything from toll roads and airports to utilities and renewable energy projects. The performance of these kinds of assets is generally tied to economic growth and the demand for essential services. Now, for our analysis, this report as an 8K filing keeps things focused on this specific event, the valuation update. It is not a deep financial statement like a 10Q or 10K, which would show revenues, expenses, and profits. However, the net asset value is a critical indicator for investors in funds like this. A consistent upward trend in net asset value generally reflects good management and positive underlying asset performance. Conversely, a downward trend would signal potential issues with the investments or market valuations. In this case, the values are all relatively close, hovering around $30 to $34. This suggests a relatively stable valuation across the different share classes as of the 31st of October. There are no dramatic spikes or drops that would immediately raise red flags in this particular snapshot. The higher valuations for Class G and H shares might indicate they represent portfolios with assets that have appreciated more or have different risk profiles. The main takeaway for investors is that this report confirms the established value of their holdings. If you hold shares in KKR Infrastructure Conglomerate, you now have the official valuation that will likely be used for any buying or selling activity around that late October date for these specific share classes. Overall, KKR Infrastructure Conglomerate appears to be operating with clear valuation metrics for its diverse share classes. The stability in these net asset values as reported suggests a managed and predictable approach to asset valuation. The primary risk for investors in such a fund often lies in the underlying economic conditions and geopolitical stability that can impact infrastructure projects. Opportunities tend to emerge from developing economies needing infrastructure improvements or from the global push towards renewable energy projects. This filing itself doesn't detail those risks or opportunities, but it provides the foundational valuation data from which investors can make their own assessments. Alright? That is our breakdown of KKR Infrastructure Conglomerate's latest filing. What is your take on these net asset values and what they suggest about the company's holdings? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this breakdown was helpful, hitting that like button is a huge boost for the channel, and subscribe for more decoding of corporate documents. Don't forget to join the conversation on our Discord server linked in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.